The lights down in the city say the system's on the ropes, while the same hands that broke it hold your paycheck and your hopes. They'll sell your sweat for silver, call your sacrifice relief, but every drop of truth we bleed writes another line of belief. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you to kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never change the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. They preach peace from marble towers while they fence off your front yard. They wave a flag made out of rules and call obedience smart. They'll brand your voice as danger, they'll mock your faith as greed, but freedom don't need permission, it just needs men who'll bleed. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never change the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free, it's written in red on history's page, a warning to the tyrants and the cowards of the age. They can bury us in silence, but the truth still screams. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLR.
Come gather round the footlights, lads, and hear the old boards groan. A tale of ink and iron will, of voices overblown. From mics and scripts to painted sails, we've traded shore for sea. players will man the rigging soon. Hey, your hands, follow me. From Long John shadowed silver grin to Jim with compass true. We speak the words, we wear the scars, we make the old world new. No gold without the work behind, no legend without sweat. A stage, a ship, a single breath. The course is not set yet. We players sail, we players sail, we players sail soon. All hands to KLRN Radio, setting sail for Treasure Island, March 2026!
Oops, I still have something set up the way I had it last night. One moment, please. All right, and I apologize if you're hearing my fan in the background. It is already super hot here today, so there will be fan noise if it's being picked up. And I apologize for nothing because I'm old and fat and need the air. So, anyway, all right, now back to our regularly scheduled commercial messages.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
From red dirt roads to the Capitol steps, Rick's calling truth, no time for regrets. Fire in his voice, facts in his hand, talking sense to the heart of this land. It's the Rick Robinson Show, where the truth rides high. No spin, no script, just an eagle in the sky. From DC to Tulsa, he's calling it out. Mic in his hand, yeah, he's got the clout. Heartland Radio, raw and real. Tune in, speak up, and feel what we feel. He's breaking down the noise, cutting through the lies, shining light where the shadow hides. With guests in the mix and callers on cue, he's a voice for the many, not the few. Well, grab your coffee, raise that flag, stand your ground, never wave that rag. News with a backbone, voice of the free. Rick's got the pulse of liberty. It's the Rick Robinson Show, bold, unafraid. Truth bombs drop in a red state parade. From the plains to the power, he's speaking it loud. With a mic and a mission that makes us proud. Talk for the people, talk that's real. The Rick Robinson Show, where we say what we feel.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
And welcome into the Wednesday, the Chat Lives Matter Day, the Hump Day edition of the Rick Robinson Show. And we're going to go for as long as I can go. My allergies are kicking my butt. So, and it's the opposite of what I normally have. So I have all this medicine for when I get stopped up and stuff. I don't really have anything to help when it's like, when things are, pouring out instead. So, anyway, so we're here, we're live. It is Wednesday, and there's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. So I guess we'll start with what seemed to have been the hottest topic on social media yesterday, which is all the leftist lemmings pissed off that Starfleet Academy's been canceled. Look, I watched it. I tried to support it. I have supported every scrap of Trek I can ever find. I used to read the books. I've watched all the series, all the movies. I've even watched all the fan stuff on YouTube before Paramount got greedy and said, no, you can't do that kind of stuff anymore. Now, if you're going to do one, it has to be labeled as a fanfic, and it can only be 10 to 15 minutes long, and there can't be a continuation of a story past 1 or 2 episodes. And to me, that was kind of the beginning of the end of Star Trek. Because one of the things, and I wish I had known this at the time, because I was young, but I would have been submitting scripts like crazy. Because apparently during Next Generation, for the longest time, they were actually accepting fan scripts. And it came in handy because during their 7-year run, there were at least 2 writer strikes that I can remember. And the funny thing is even Paramount seems to not want to admit that some of its better episodes that have ever aired were actually written by fans. Yesterday's Enterprise was a fan submission. Not only was it a perfect episode in so many ways, it actually paved the way for Denise Crosby to come back because the whole reason she was let go in the first place was pumped up and sold as a lie. So to me, I think Paramount's missing something here. Now that Skydance is running the boards, I really hope what happens is they decide to start taking all these stupid restrictions off. Because look, Kurtzman's Trek sucks. And I don't say that because I want to hurt the brand. I say it because I feel like at this point it's the only way to save the brand. Look, I've been getting flack for this all day yesterday and day before as well, but I'm going to say this again. Woke was always baked in. I know we didn't know what to call it yet. I know it wasn't as big as it is now, but it was still there. One of the things that I'm talking about is the embrace of a socialist utopia. But we were able to get past most of that because, they had the matter transmission technology, so they could basically make things happen out of thin air. So there really was no type of want or need for anything anymore because it all you had to do was go to your replicator panel and say, tea, Earl Grey hot. And you got whatever you wanted. Now, granted, the original Trek didn't necessarily have that, but they had something similar. Remember their little food cubes they used to eat all the time? Yeah, kind of felt Jetson-esque. The funny thing is, some of that is actually happening now. I don't know about you guys, but I take supplements all the time. One of them is what the hell is it called? Nature's Blend, I think is what they call it. That's got all the fruits and vegetables in it. Yeah, that one. Yeah, so I'm half the time. That's actually one of my meals. I normally only eat twice a day because I'm taking, about 10 different servings of fruits and vegetables every morning. And then, of course, there's my soup, the magic bean water that I sip on all day. So there's that. But look, Kurtzman gambled, and he told everybody he was going to gamble. He gambled that 0.03% of the American population, and actually probably about 0.06% of the world population, would show up and push this thing over the top. But they didn't. And they didn't, and they haven't been showing up for any of the newer Trek because it's not that good. Look, Discovery had its moments. Season 2 of Discovery was probably some of the best Trek that I've seen in a long time, but they got away from some of the stupidity. They shouldn't have even called Star Trek Discovery Star Trek Discovery. It should have been, under its current iteration, Star Trek Berman, because the original premise of Discovery isn't even what they went with. It was supposed to be a 7-season anthology where for each season you got to see a different ship of the line and a different crew doing what Starfleet does. That could have been compelling storytelling, but they went with this instead. And then they decided to do the magic mushroom thing. And then they did the burn, which is dumb. I mean, sometimes watching these episodes, I felt like I was watching a live action run through of a multiplayer online game, because there were so many MacGuffins built into the series, so many MacGuffins built in to Starfleet Academy. Hell, their entire finale was around a MacGuffin that would have been next to impossible to make happen. It was still an enjoyable episode to me. It was one of the 3 that I actually liked. But the plot holes. That's been the problem with modern day Trek. There have always been plot holes that you could pilot a starship through in modern day Trek. It happens all the time, but it's also a 60-year-old franchise. So some of us have learned to deal with that. But what I can't deal with is things that just make no sense. Like a guy basically being told it's jail or this, and then keeps getting in trouble over and over and over again, and keeps being given second chance after third chance after fourth chance after fifth chance. And then in one of the episodes, the cadet that's supposed to be about to be bumped up to command track freaks out, has the bad boy of the cast break her onto the bridge so that she can erase her letters of recommendation. I have to admit, it's been a long time since I've been through any form of academy, but I'm pretty sure if we were breaking into secure areas, we probably would have been drummed out. I'm just saying. And that is only some of what I didn't like about Starfleet Academy. I'll be honest, it was geared towards a younger audience. There were certain things that were happening. I was kind of I can get past it. The thing about it is, I didn't even hate the Klingon in a skirt. It's 1,000 years from now. I'm assuming people are, if you've seen what's happened to our society in the last 250 years, can you imagine how much more retarded everything would be if we're talking about 250 years past that plus another 900? Just saying. So, yeah, I can only imagine. And some of it didn't bother me, like the lack of protocol. Yeah, it grated on my nerves at first, but then I remembered all the things that I've ever read about Roddenberry, who said he hated that military protocol was being dragged back into Star Trek because he was trying to get rid of it as much as possible. He only wanted to use it as a simple framework. Now, that's interesting to me because everybody complains about how there was painstaking work done in determining how big the ship would be, the size of the quarters, and it was based on naval vessels, etc. And then everybody gets to this new universe and they're like, oh my God, these rooms are huge. You could fit 2 of the captain's quarters from the Enterprise D into Pike's quarters. But this brings me to my other coping mechanism, and I've written about this before. I honestly believe that everything that happened after Voyager happened in an alternate timeline. And that is because around the same time that Enterprise launched was around the same time that Star Trek First Contact happened. The Enterprise E went back in time after the Borg successfully assimilated the Earth in the past to stop that from happening. Enterprise, in one of its, I believe it was 3rd or 4th season episodes, actually encountered one of the Borg spheres that was left behind by the Enterprise E during First Contact. And this, to me, is why I've always been able to get around some of the major canonical plot holes of even Enterprise, like there being a Grand Canyon in Florida carved out by aliens. No bit of Trek has ever mentioned any of that before. Yeah, STA was military drama without the military or the drama. Hey, doesn't who have Dax in her? I'm confused by your question. But yes, Dax was in STA. She was the new host for Dax was played by Tawny Newsome from Lower Decks. That was another episode that a lot of folks didn't like because of the inconsistencies. But I actually enjoyed the homage to Avery Brooks. I've heard some of his interviews recently, and I'm not sure how well his health is doing because his speech patterns seem a little weird. So I don't know, but I actually enjoyed that episode. I was one of the few who probably did. I guess that's actually my 3rd, because the first episode, the last episode, and that one are probably my 3 favorites. I think what helped me loosen up with that a bit was Sarah Lofton talking about how much he enjoyed making the video and how nice it was to give an homage to his TV dad again. But yeah, Denny, in one episode, Dax was in one episode. It was in the one for Cisco. And look, I didn't even mind some of the stupid teenage drama, but it's probably because I've raised kids, and I'm like, yeah, I could see them doing this. I can't really see the way the supposed commandant of Starfleet Academy is looking at them doing this and not doing anything about it, but I can kind of see them trying to get away with it. But anyway, so yeah, one of the main reasons I brought this up is because everybody's been screaming at me from both sides. You don't understand, it's too woke. You don't understand the original series was never woke. No, it was. We just didn't really know what to call it yet. And if you don't like the fact that, according to you, Roddenberry's take on Star Trek was more classic liberalism than woke, then you need to go fight with the crowd that have hijacked your word. There is no princess in the Academy. Dude, did you even watch the show? Anyway. All right, so I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. I just think it's funny because in one of my plethora of threads that have absolutely blown up over this topic, somebody told me that it's all Nerdrotic's fault that none of the left watched Starfleet Academy. So I'm like, you're basically admitting that the left is a group of lemmings that suffer from groupthink, and that's going to make this better? Really? That's where you're going with this. I mean, I'll let you have it if that's what you want to do. But yeah, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. All right. So let's see what other trouble we can get into real quick, because there is plenty of news to talk about today. So one of the ones that I've been tracking for a while was this one, and I don't really know why the left is having so much fun with this one, but they are. So there's been a primary shakeup in North Carolina. While this was a close race, the voters have spoken, and I congratulate Sheriff Page on his victory, Berger said in a statement. Over the past 15 years, Republicans in the General Assembly have fundamentally redefined our state's outlook and reputation, said Berger. It has been an honor to play a role in that transformation. Looking ahead, I remain committed to working with my colleagues in this short session to ensure North Carolina continues to be the best state in the nation in which to live, work, raise a family, and retire. In the months ahead, I will also do everything I can to support all Republican Senate candidates and protect our supermajority. So for some reason, the left is viewing this as some sort of a victory, and I guess it's maybe because they feel like their candidate is probably best suited to beat the person who beat the other guy in the primary. I don't really know enough about it to tell you too much more than I think. I think the Democrats are just jumping at every chance to shake anything up that they can, because it's really the only thing that they have right now. They don't stand for anything. They are still leaving most of a good portion of the government shut down, and some of the most important parts of our government right now. I might disagree with the fact that Homeland Security even exists. I might disagree with the fact that I think that we need to keep it. But for right now, we definitely need to keep it. I think we need to start figuring out how to phase it out and make it go away, because I think it's turned into a monster, but now's not that time. All right, so did you guys hear about any of Iran's demands for their ceasefire? Because, yeah, they have a lot. So you remember those talks that Iran said weren't even happening through intermediaries, and all the Democrats were like, Iran is saying this isn't even happening, and we believe them more than the current administration. Well, yeah, so this is what's actually been happening. Iranian representatives have let the Trump administration know they have a high bar for re-entering negotiations for a ceasefire deal. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has consolidated power within the shattered Iranian regime and is making demands such as, and I quote, the closure of all American bases in the Gulf and reparations for attacks on Iran. said people familiar with the matter. Other demands that have been stated include a new order for the Strait of Hormuz that would allow Iran to collect fees from ships that transit the waterway, as Egypt does now with the Suez Canal. Guarantees that the war wouldn't restart, and an end to Israel's strike on the Iran-aligned Lebanese militia Hezbollah. That was me, not the writer. Lifting all sanctions on Iran. Yeah, like that's going to happen. Permitting Iran to keep its missile program with no negotiations to limit it. A U.S. official called the demands ridiculous and unrealistic. The posturing will make reaching a deal with Tehran harder than before. Harder than before Trump started the war. Arab and I disagree with that entire sentence, just so you know. And I know I'm quoting from another article when I'm reading this to you, but we didn't start this war. I feel like we should just be playing the Billy Joel song, "We Didn't Start This Fire," on a loop, because we didn't do none of this. I mean, technically we kind of did, but that was like in the 50s. So in 79, they've basically been at war with us ever since. Now, if we go back to the 50s, we can trace it back to our crazy-ass foreign policy of the time, shaking things up and actually making things worse. But I disagree with Trump starting the war, because Iran's been at war with us since 1979, even if we didn't want to admit it at the time. But yeah, so some pie in the sky kind of wishes and dreams and hopes coming from that crowd today, in case you're wondering. Because yeah, so I definitely wanted to talk about that, because we went from this isn't even happening to, oh, it's happening, but they're not really making any sane demands. Which, did anybody really expect them to? Did they? All right, so we're gonna find out about this together, because this one intrigues me. So according to Ward Clark over at Red State, there's apparently a new tank killer at 1/10 the price. So I'm not sure if they're talking about, supplement or replacement to the E10, but I know our Congress critters have been trying to get rid of that one for a while. So let's see what this is talking about. It's not often that American taxpayers get a break on the pricing of military hardware. We now field a deadly, effective, and efficient military, and we rely on high technology. Tech is a great force multiplier, as Venezuela and now Iran have learned to their sorrow. Tech can also be expensive, but here's the thing about high tech. As it develops, it tends to get cheaper, and development and manufacturing processes improve. Now, here's a new example. A new it's a shoulder fire. I thought they were talking about like a big weapon system. Anyway, a new shoulder-fired anti-tank missile, the Zeus system, may be the next big thing to replace the Javelin missile system. The Texas-based firm Aon has pushed its Zeus shoulder-fired anti-tank missile through live testing, marking a key step forward for a system positioned as a lower-cost alternative to the FGM-148 Javelin weapon. The new missile weighs 20 pounds, 9 kilograms, and measures 30 inches, 76 centimeters long. Its design allows for tool-free payload swapping, enabling operators to reconfigure the system quickly based on mission needs. Zeus is also built for networked operations. It supports the Android Team Awareness Kit for command and control, and can be launched from multiple platforms, including ground vehicles, drones, and other autonomous systems. So the biggest deal about this is, of course, the price. According to the company, Zeus could deliver cost savings of more than 90% versus the Lockheed Raytheon-built Javelin. Systems like the Javelin have been in heavy demand in recent conflicts, particularly during the Russian-Ukraine war. So if this thing works as advertised and we can get it for 10% of what we're paying for the other one, I say why not? I really thought they were talking about something bigger, though, but that's still pretty cool. I love the fact that like things are being, military hardware is now being networked with Android apps, apparently. Anybody else find that a little weird? Just me? Maybe it is just me. That's all right, though. It can be just me. I'm fine with that. Sorry, I was reading somebody's response to me pointing out that, by blaming Nerdrotic, you're basically saying the left is a bunch of lemmings. And yeah, so somebody responded, oh, that makes sense. Nerdrotic is just a false name. In reality, he was one of the writers of SFA and made it that bad on purpose so his YouTube channel gets more clicks. I mean, yeah. 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 All right. All right, let's go ahead and take a break so I can get some stuff organized here, because there's way too much going on, and I do want to, if it starts on time and if I can remember it, there's a press conference with Her Hotness today, so I plan on joining that. But they rarely start on time anymore, so I guess we'll have to see. Anyway, my name is Rick Robinson. This is my show, and we will be right back.
When the call comes in, somebody answers. Day or night, they're already moving. Calm voices, fast hands, doing the work while the rest of the world freezes. From a headset to a truck, from a badge to a door, they don't stop to count the cost. They step in when it matters. It's not about being seen, it's about being there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Before the sirens fade, before the scene is clear, someone's already making sense of the moment. Keeping people alive, keeping things from getting worse. Some run toward danger, some stay behind and hold it together. Different roles, same weight, same promise to show up. When everything's on the line, they're already there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. This is service, this is sacrifice, this is how lives are saved. No spotlight, no applause, just showing up again and again. They're holding the line when the world goes dark. When everything's breaking, they hold their ground. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. So we raise our voices for the ones who stand. Every voice, every badge, every helping hand. They don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Always standing in the
And welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it is Chat Lives Matter Day. Chat Lives Matter Night will also proceed tonight as well with Kingdom and Country Bible Study Edition, 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, followed at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then, of course, our friends over at Behind Enemy Lines with Gene and Ross, and then Rick and Orty, and then Edge of Liberty. So I'll be working till about midnight or so. I know, again, playing catch up with archives, but I have a lot of the stuff caught up. There's just a few more episodes that I got to get done that I'll probably work on tomorrow and then try to get everything current again. Anyway, so we're back, we're live, and it's Wednesday, and I just realized I didn't change my screen, so hang on. There we go. Like, where'd it go? Anyway, all right, so, okay, so, I think I have my voice well enough under control that I can actually do a couple minutes worth of ranting. I haven't decided if I want to do that now or wait till next hour. I think I will probably wait until next hour. Wherever you're watching this from, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you hit the follow button, the subscribe button, whatever your option is. Remember, if you're watching from YouTube or Rumble, subscriptions don't cost you anything. If you like what we do around here, also make sure you're hitting that notification bell so you get notified every time we go live. And I guess, before we do anything else, I should talk to you about one of the folks that we partner with, known as Freedom Chat. For those of you who don't know what that is, Freedom Chat is an app similar to Signal, but it has a lot more control and a lot less of you being tracked. So feel free to visit freedomchat.com if you want to check it out. There's links to get you to whatever version of the app is supported by your particular brand of phone. There are channels there for the Rick Robinson Show. There are channels there for KLRN Radio, and we are starting to spin up more. I have to admit that is one of the things I haven't done much of lately, is messing with that. But I encourage the use of that program for that app for a couple different reasons. One, it is a lot more secure than any of the other apps out there that I have actually tried to use. There's also interesting settings that make it to where your messages can disappear if you set them to only be visible for a certain amount of time. You can also restrict it so anybody involved in your conversations cannot do screen grabs. So, gonna say this again, if the Trump administration 2.0 had Freedom Chat on their phone rather than Signal, the whole Signal Gate thing wouldn't have been able to happen for multiple reasons. Because only the person that creates the chat can invite people anyway. If it's a private chat and not a group page. So that's just one thing. All right, so I think what I'm going to do next, because I do have a couple of clips we haven't gotten to yet, and this one kind of sort of feeds into what I'm going to be talking about today in a roundabout kind of way, but we're going to get there anyway. So hang on, I got to get back to the right X account because I was off promoting everything while we were on break. So, all right, so hang on just a second. All right, so you guys know that for the longest time I've been pointing out that Chris Murphy, the Congress critter, is actually a little bit Riri. But he just did something that even surprised me. Sometimes they say the parts that they don't want you to hear out loud, and then they hope you just didn't notice. I think this may have been one of those times, but here we go.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So right. You are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So right. You are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. and it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So you are right that that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Okay, so yes, I let it play twice, but I let it play twice for a reason. Because it was a short clip and I wanted to make sure you heard that last part. We care about, now notice, he didn't say undocumented migrants. He said undocumented Americans. This is one of those things where, and this is why I have been pounding the point home for the last couple of days about Star Trek always being woke, that it was just woke to differing degrees back then, because it took less to push shock value then than it does now. To give you a perfect example, the song from the 60s, Love in My Tummy, almost nobody in that day and time knew what that song was really about because they were able to be subtle, and a handful of people got it, and there was a joke, and everybody laughed, and they said, I can't believe this made it past the censors. Yeah, same thing with Star Trek. Same thing with Star Trek. The problem is, and I've been saying this on a lot of shows, human nature is to continue to push the envelope once we have broken through to whatever the next envelope is, and then we keep pushing it till it breaks. The problem with that is sometimes we're too stupid to know when it's time to stop pushing. For the left, you guys have overdone it, and you're finding it out slowly, and most of America doesn't want your crap, which is why we're not buying it anymore. I think we're going to find out the same thing that we found out about The Acolyte with Disney, even though it was months later before they admitted it, that the cost was just too prohibitive to continue to shoot the episodes, especially with the lack of return on investment. Now you have to ask yourself the question, where did the 4.5 million people that turned in to the first episode of The Acolyte go? And gee, I wonder if the space witch orgy might have had something to do with why they stopped watching. Just could be. Could be. But anyway. All right. So, but yeah, Chris Murphy says the quiet part out loud. Wait, your newest granddaughter's already judging you for what? Anyway, congratulations on the new grandbaby, by the way. I don't think I've said that yet, so I think you're trying to catch up with me. Anyway. All right, sorry. Yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a rough show day, but I'm still doing the damn thing anyway, because my allergies are absolutely kicking my butt. All right, so I just saw the announcement that we'll actually not be in Edge of Liberty tonight. So our final program for the night will be Rick and Orty. So anyway, all right. So let's see what other, and minus Andrew, because I don't want him getting judged or nothing. Let's see what other trouble we can get into. So I think CNN, otherwise known as the Correction News Network, might have managed to bite off more than they could chew this time. I'm not even going to preface this first. We're just going to load it and talk about it. So hang on.
Not only to incomes, my in-laws also work for the agency. So even the people that we could have probably asked for some sort of money or some sort of help, they're also in the same position where they cannot help. I mean, we're really making do with what we have, stretching that dollar, having to carpool. At this point, it has come to the point of like having to skip meals because I have to make sure that my kids are fed. And so if it comes down to I'll just feed them and I'll skip a meal and, we'll keep stretching that dollar, so be it.
It is really hard to hear that in this country that you are having to skip meals in order for your own children to be fed, and you have a full-time job, but because Congress can't get it together, you are unpaid. Can you give me some sense of the message that you want to send directly to Congress, to your Congress people, and to those who are making these decisions? What would you say to them and the president this morning?
I need them to come to some sort of resolution for the sake of the federal workers. This is unacceptable. These are people who have been put on a position by constituents, and they need to represent us, and that also means making sure we are able to put food on the table while we've been working. It is unacceptable at this point that we are showing up to work with no pay, and even the people who are not showing up to work because they're not able to, it's not that they don't want to, they're not able because they're not able to put gas on their car or have anyone to leave their children with because they cannot afford to pay it. And yet, since this shutdown started, we have nationwide, officers have screened well over 95 million people, and we are still showing up every day without pay.
Showing up every day without pay. So, for those of you who didn't know what that was actually a TSA union member. So, look, government is dysfunctional, and we've known that for a while. And it's only getting worse, not better. And the more divided we stay, the easier it is for government to keep fighting with one another. But we talked about this a little bit on Men Explained Poorly last night. Part of the reason why the country is divided as it is because they're now using everything that used to bring us together as a divisive point. We can't just sit down and enjoy a TV show anymore without having a political message shoved up our rectums sideways. And I, for one, don't like that. And I don't care what the message is. I don't care if it's a right-leaning message. I don't care if it's a left-leaning message. I work in politics all the time. If I'm taking the time to turn on a TV show and it's not a news-related show, I want to be entertained, not preached